You ready, Jim?
I'm ready, sir, if you are.
All right, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Get this rolling. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, let's stand for the pledge. A little bit of a time lapse there, huh? All righty. Let's kick it off with the Homesfund presentation and a little bit of discussion with Lisa Bloomquist Palmer. Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Yes. There we go.
All right. Can you hear me on Zoom?
Yeah. Pull it in a little bit closer. And there you go.
There you go.
There we go. Now can you hear me on Zoom?
Yeah.
Good.
All right. He's nodding. All right. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me here. Thank you also for starting right on time. That's amazing. So my name is Lisa Bloomquist. I'm the Executive Director for Homesfund. And I'm going to tell you a bit about Homesfund and then ask you for your support of our application for CDBG, that's Community Development Block Grant money that we have applied to through the City of Durango, who's applying to the Division of Housing. So should I just say next slide, I guess? Next slide. All right. So a little bit about Homesfund. Homesfund, we are a nonprofit organization. We're based in Durango, but we serve Montezuma County with our programs of homebuyer education, housing counseling, mortgage assistance, and next slide, and also manufactured and mobile home financing, difficult to finance manufactured homes, and also pre-development financing for developers of affordable housing. The main activities we do were on that last slide, the homebuyer education, housing counseling, and mortgage assistance. And we are an affordable housing organization that is mainly focused on affordable home ownership. And so bridging the gap between our low workforce wages and high home prices in our area. Next slide, please. So this slide illustrates what I'm sure you guys all know intuitively or have heard in the paper or word on the street that home prices are going up astronomically or have gone up astronomically over the last couple of years. So these two graphs are just pulled from the Four Corners Association of Realtors, and you could see that line going steeply up over the last couple of years. Next slide, please. So Homesfund's programs help low and moderate income folks to reach home ownership, and we do that through our homebuyer education, which ensures that people have the knowledge and the background information that they need in order to be successful and sustainable homeowners. Our homebuyer education classes are held monthly up at Fort Lewis College, and every other month for about 9 months out of the year, we hold a class down here in Cortez. And we've had several different locations. I believe that our current location is the Chamber of Commerce building for our homebuyer education classes. They are generally well attended here in Montezuma County, and almost as well attended as the ones up in La Plata County, despite having about half the population. For those who would like one-on-one information, we offer housing counseling. And in those housing counseling sessions, we provide a in-depth look at a household's budget. And we pull their credit, we take a look at their credit, we go over their readiness for homeownership. We talk to them about what they need to do in order to get to the price point that they're looking at as far as purchasing a home. Next slide, please. And then our primary program and the program that we are seeking support for today is our mortgage assistance program. And I use the term mortgage assistance fairly interchangeably with the term down payment assistance. And mortgage assistance it's a subordinate loan, a second or sometimes third or even fourth position loan when a lower moderate income household is purchasing a home. And it helps to fill that gap between low workforce wages and high home prices. It lowers the amount that they need to borrow for their first mortgage so that they can have that affordability. Let's say a household can only afford a mortgage of, let's say, $250,000, but they can only find a house that's suitable for them that costs $300,000. We would come in and provide our mortgage assistance, whatever mortgage assistance they qualified for, in order to help bridge that gap. So some of our programs, our mortgage assistance programs, are differentiated by funding source. We offer $21,000 in CDBG, Community Development Block Grant funded mortgage assistance per household for those households that have incomes that are below 80% of area median income. That includes a lot of retail workers. It includes a lot of single parents of all professions, people who work in all sorts of industries, even starting teachers, even starting law enforcement officers. We also offer $21,000 in HDG, that's Housing Development Grant funded assistance for households in between 80 and 100% of area median income. That's also through the state, and folks who fall into those income brackets. That tends to be more teachers, law enforcement officers, people who work in the medical field, just about any profession you can think of. I can tell you approximately what the slot would be, but it depends on household size and whatnot. Next slide, please. We are also offering a new program as soon as we get a contract signed with the state. It's a program called our AHIF, Affordable Housing Investment Fund funded program, where we could offer up to 25% of a home's purchase price to those who have incomes under 80% AMI. And the equation for that is a little bit difficult, but basically we're stacking our different programs in order to get up to that 25% of the purchase price, or 17% of the purchase price for those with incomes in between 80 and 100% of area median income. Next slide, please. So our programs have been quite successful. 52 Montezuma County families have used Homesfund mortgage assistance to successfully buy a home. The mortgage assistance amount put into Montezuma County is $934,082 of mortgage assistance. 204 Montezuma County households have received homebuyer education. 124 Montezuma County households have received housing counseling. And of those who have received any of Homesfund's services, 201 have gone on to purchase a home. Next slide, please. So I'm here today to request support of our CDBG application. The fiscal agent for that application is the city of Durango. But since we are providing services in Montezuma County, we are required to get some forms signed by all of the counties that we are providing services in. And I have provided those forms to Mr. Anderson, and we are looking for your support by signing off on those forms so that we can provide this CDBG funded mortgage assistance in Montezuma County. This is not a new program. This program has been going on for many years, since at least 2009, we've had CDBG contracts. This is just a new contract, and so they make us jump through the hoops all over again. So that is my presentation. I think next slide. Oh, wait, nope. There's still a little bit more. This is just a list of the items that we are requesting. These are items that the state requires us to get for CDBG applications, and they can be customized according to you or the county staff or the legal team's desires, but the state does provide templates to make it as easy as possible. Next slide, please. This is where I say thank you. Thank you very much for listening to me, for having me down here, and for your consideration of this request.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Is there a difference when you qualify for your AMI in Montezuma County and La Plata? Is the AMI different?
The AMIs are different. Yeah. So the area median income is locally based. It's determined by county,
Okay.
by HUD. And so, yes, the incomes in La Plata County are higher than they are down here in Montezuma County.
What's ours here?
Well, it depends on household size.
Right.
So for a single person, I'm kind of
okay.
winging this a little bit. For
Right.
one person, right around $45,000 a year. Let's say a family of 4, right around $60,000 a year for 80% of area median income. And then, about 15% more than that for 100% of area median income. I'd have to, if you'd like exact numbers, I'm happy to give
that's
those to
fine.
I just don't happen to have those off the top
I
of
was
my
just
head.
curious.
Yeah. Yeah. So, people who have jobs, people who are working in our community, but they just can't quite afford to get into home ownership, and especially with the increasing interest rates, especially with these skyrocketing prices, just helping people out with a little bit of a loan to give them a boost
You bet.
so that they can get into sustainable home ownership.
Gerald, do you have anything?
No. I mean, this has been going on for
Right.
a long time, so, yeah, no, it's been good support for a lot of people that needed it.
All right.
Especially the education is what all they had to do to get to the place where they can own a home.
Right. I mean, that's, to me, when we first bought our first house, there was nothing like that. I mean, you just jumped in with both feet and away you went.
Right, right. And the homebuyer education piece really is crucial. And our homebuyer education classes, we do have local representatives of various industries. We have realtors and lenders and insurance folks come and give presentations, but we have a very strict no solicitation policy in those classes. And we give people information without giving them a sales pitch. And so they understand what they're getting themselves into, and they can ask questions that they may feel like, sound like they're stupid questions and they don't want to ask in front of their lenders.
Right. Okay. Travis, can we take this up under unfinished business tomorrow? Is it in there?
I believe it's on the agenda. I'll look.
Okay.
I don't-
All right.
Travis, I just checked. It's not on the agenda for tomorrow. The only thing under unfinished business is the racetrack, so we'll have to add that for sure.
To the unfinished business.
All right. Well, thank you for coming in, and we'll add this for tomorrow and take action on it.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time and support of our programs.
You bet.
Okay.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we have a discussion related to the 2023 racetrack contract. Justin McGuire and Julian Garcia. Come on down.
Afternoon, guys.
Good afternoon.
So I got Julian with me here today, and we were kind of looking over trying to get a new lease set up for next year, for 2023. And Mr. Garcia, he was looking at trying to do the dates of April 1st to September 30th next year. There was one other thing he was wanting to maybe do out there, and he wanted to kind of get the okay of the county to do it beforehand, which was to do a couple improvements. I know he wanted to try to work on the lights out there and the fence, and I'll let him kind of touch base with you a little bit on that. But that was something that he'd like to get in there, maybe February, March, do some of the improvements, and then start a lease on April 1st. And the reason that we wanted to try to do this lease now was to kind of guarantee him, that we would lease him this track before he did any improvements or anything like that. So with that, I'll let Julian kind of talk a little bit about his improvements, and then if there's anything in the lease agreement that you guys want to talk about that I had Ian kind of go over, we can do that.
Sounds good. Mr. Garcia.
Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. So we were looking at coming in, you know, there were some issues with the lighting last season that we fixed at the beginning of the season. Some of them issues came back towards the end of the season. So we'd like to get in and kind of get some lighting fixtures replaced in there around the track surface itself. The bathroom plumbing, there's a couple issues in there we need to repair. They're not big ones, but they're just ones that we would have to address. You know, I'd like to get it done before we started racing. The fence, we are trying to just replace the whole front stretch wall fence if we can do it, which is, you know, we're going to need like a month, maybe 5 or so weeks to do that. And then, of course, we got stuff to the sound system. We got some speakers we're going to put in there. And then the lower concession needs a little bit of repair work as well. So we're going to try to, you guys can hear me okay, right?
You bet.
Okay. And then the lower concession needs a little bit of repair work inside that we'd like to get done. So we were kind of looking at like 8 weeks, give or take, of improvements before the date that we started, for the month that we started for racing anyway. And I think that's why we discussed maybe being able to access the property February 1st and then start the lease April 1st type of thing. That's what we were where we were at with those, with the repairs and stuff.
And so I'll tell you guys what I did with the contract and the way it's currently written, and some of the issues that I see that we'll have to make some decisions on. Certainly incorporated the lease term of April to September, like Justin and I talked about. Included a right of entry for the months of February and March, so Mr. Garcia can get in and make improvements. You know, there's a couple different things that you guys are going to have to decide on. One is, you know, last year the entirety of the rent for the lease term was due on the date of signing. I think that that's pretty typical of these sorts of leases. And so the way this is currently written, $7,500, that would be the amount for the term from April to September. That would be due on the date that Mr. Garcia signed the contract. Now, if you guys want to look at you know, a different alternative, Justin reached out to me and asked me about that. That's something that we can incorporate in, but as this is currently written, that $7,500 would be due at the date of signing. And really, this lease itself would begin at the date of signing. And so once Mr. Garcia signs the lease, then he obtains right to get in February and March to make his improvements and pays money, and away we go. The other significant thing to note in this contract, if you jump down to paragraph 19, and it would be subsection B there, any improvements made to the premises by tenant must be approved by landlord in writing prior to any such improvements being undertaken. You know, I was a little bit unclear exactly what improvements would be done. My assumption would be once you get out there and start looking at things, things might come up. You might, you know, maybe you'll start on the bathrooms and figure out, oh, I got to do this as opposed to this. My suggestion would be, you know, to take those things to Justin. Justin, you bring us something in and show us exactly what it is that Mr. Garcia's planning on doing, and then certainly this BOCC could approve it in writing. I mean, the other option would be for Justin to make those approvals. That's just sort of that's a decision you guys have to make. So the way it's currently written, you guys would be, this board would be the one that would check off on any improvements that would be made. You know, Justin, I don't know how those would be presented. I mean, my assumption is for some of them it's going to be pretty straightforward. For things like the lighting, it might get more complex depending on what exactly is going to be done. You know, I don't know the ins and outs, but that's the way that would work. So those are, you know, those are really the significant changes that have been made between this year's lease and last year's lease. Just that right of entry for February and March, and then that provision that that deals with the improvements and the check off on that.
And then I think the one thing that Julian came to me and asked was, if he could kind of get in there and do the improvements February, March, and not pay his full lease until April 1st date for the 7,500. You know, if that's something that the board is willing to negotiate and do. I think that's the only other piece to that Julian kind of asked me.
Yeah, and I think Ian had mentioned that too. I think the only difference was he was saying we just pay the lease as soon as we get the right of entry. Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, I mean, that would really be the question. I mean, the way it's written right now, you guys would pay at the date of signing. And so, you know, if you sign the lease right before February, then you pay then, and then you'd be able to enter on February 1st. Now, if the board wants to negotiate or change that up, that's certainly an option. I mean, that's not set in stone. That's more of a contractual term. You know, I think it's always, advisable to get that money once a tenant goes in. I mean, for instance, if I'm renting a house, you know, I don't oftentimes get to go in and make improvements for a couple months before I take possession of the house. Usually you pay when you take possession, so that would be typical. But again, that doesn't have to be that way. That's what's typical, and so that's what's written into this lease right now. You know, the only other thing, Mr. Garcia, is certainly insurance. You know, I don't know exactly how your insurance is set up, but you know, my assumption would be that you would be covered during the months of February and March as well.
Yeah, Justin has the current certificate on file.
Great. So, you know, so that'll cover that. So, you know, it's really in the board's court to negotiate how you guys want to do that. If you want to, you know, require the payment at the date of signing, or if you want to do it in some kind of installments, or what.
Yeah, I don't. What's easier for you, installments or right up front?
Either one. And I think, so you had described paying the months April through September at the date of the issuance of the right of entry.
Yep.
Essentially leaving off February, March just for the repair dates, but we just make the payment for April through September then. That's what you're saying. Yeah.
Exactly.
Which is what we had talked about. So we can do it in installments, or we can write the check up front when we get the.
If that's not a problem for you guys, I think that's always the easiest, just to get the money up front.
And that's fine.
It saves you from writing a check every quarter.
Yeah.
Whatever installment comes due.
Yeah. Yeah, we would just do the full lease up front.
Are you talking about April 1st, or are you talking about in February? February.
So you would have to pay us the day you sign. So say this gets approved and you want to sign it in a week. You'd have to pay us the $7,500 in a week when you sign it.
Yeah.
That's what this is stating.
Right.
You just want your right of entry for earlier to get in there to do those repairs, correct?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
So, Mr. Garcia, are you okay, say if you sign this the last week of January, are you okay paying at that date the $7,500?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. I mean, if that works for you, that's better for us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not an issue for us.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Jim, do you have any problem with that?
No, not at all. I agree with what Ian said. I mean, it makes it cleaner for us. Then the contract is good. He's good with the contract. We are. You know, the insurances are all there in place per the contract. So, and to give him 2 months that he's not racing to do what he needs to do, that makes logical sense. And then we're good to go. So, the only thing that I think that we have on the lower end under 19 that Ian had talked about is that we still need to know what the improvements are going to be. So my concern with the lighting system, if you were going to change the entire lighting system, you know, would that be approved by Empire Electric? So I would like to know what those improvements are up front. You know, is it just unscrewing a light bulb and putting in an LED, or is it physically changing something to the structure itself? So I have no issues with, you know, you signing it going in February 1st, but I would like to, you know, reference 19 for the improvements of what exactly are you being, what's being done so that we don't get into a situation that we find ourselves in trouble.
And that kind of leads into a point that I was going to make. Mr. Garcia, if you go in February 1st, I mean, say ideally snow's not there, you're able to get out and work February 1st, and you go in and you identify an issue and you say, okay, we got to get these lights done, this is how we're going to do it. I mean, chances are from the date that you identify the issue, then you're going to have to get it over to Justin, and he's going to have to bring it before the board. So you're looking at probably a week's time at the very quickest before you can get in front of us to make improvements. I don't know if that's going to be a sufficient amount of time for you. I mean, you've got a pretty short window, February, March, to to identify what needs to be done, and then get a plan together, get it to Justin, get it to this board. Is that going to be an issue?
No, I don't believe so, because what my plan is since with the lighting, we already kind of know the issues that are there and the corrections that we'd like to do. So I think what we're going to do is write a something up to give Justin some kind of repair type deal, and then he can bring it to you guys and get approval on it. And that would be before February, because we've already kind of got a list we're working on, so we can get it to him and then he can get it to you, and we can get checked off approval for what we were approved to change and do, and we will not make any improvements or changes until it's approved with you guys first.
That makes a lot of sense. I just wanted to be sure that you weren't going to end up in a time crunch.
No.
So, okay.
Yeah, no, we got a pretty good idea on
good deal.
The big ones we're going to fix out there.
Okay.
No, I think this was mainly just allowing him sufficient time before his race season to actually do the improvements that would get improved.
If you already know what you're going to do, that makes it easy.
Yeah.
I just didn't want you to get in on February 1st and spend a couple weeks identifying what you needed to do, and then all of a sudden it takes us a couple weeks, and here comes the race season. So,
Right.
Yep. Great.
Anything else? Travis? Gerald?
No,
Jim?
I don't have any problem with it.
No, I think that's all I had. Just the item number B and C underneath the existing improvements, and it sounds like Mr. Garcia has that all addressed, or has the what he knows what he has to do pretty much already. So I don't think it's going to be long for us to look at the improvements in writing and be able to approve them at that point in time.
So in terms of moving forward with this and getting it signed, I mean, I can certainly get a clean copy ready to go this afternoon and get it in front of you guys tomorrow, or if you want to kick it off to mid-January, I mean, it's really in the party's courts. Just let me know what you want, and then we can deal with it.
I think that mid-January, in my opinion, is fine, Ian. Mr. Garcia is not wanting to get out there before February anyway, so I think we should be in good shape by that time.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, sounds good. Well, Travis, let's just coordinate with these guys and get something on the agenda. I'll get this finished up this afternoon and circulate it so Mr. Garcia sees it, and Justin, you have a copy, and then when it comes time to get it signed, we'll get it done.
Sounds good.
All right.
Anything else?
All right. Thank you.
We thank you. Thank you, Justin.
Was you gonna?
Yes.
Yeah, because it's coming up pretty quick, so you're probably gonna need to get that addressed.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So there was one other thing that I got a phone call about today that I'll just kind of throw out there real quick so you guys have an idea. They are wanting to do a funeral service out at the fairgrounds for Dalton. And I was asked about that for this Friday, and we can make that happen. That's nothing we can't do out there for Friday. We had a practice that evening, but I went ahead and talked to the people putting that on, and they're fine canceling that practice for that evening anyway. So with that, if they use the indoor building for that service, we would be looking at, approximately, it's $450 for the building, $100 for the kitchen if they need that. So $550 for the building, essentially. I'm not sure how many tables they might use or as far as heat goes, but we'd be in the range of $800 to $900 if the county was wanting to waive those fees for that service on Friday. Then the only other thing that we'd want to look at is whether or not we want to carry the insurance on it, because I do require everybody to have insurance, so that would be something. Do we want them to carry an insurance policy for that day, or would the county be okay holding the insurance? So that's what I had on that from some phone calls that I got in this morning on that.
My personal opinion is this was a county employee, and we should extend ourselves as much as we can to make this happen. That's just my personal opinion. Gerald?
Oh, I agree. I mean, this is terrible loss to that family and to the county and everybody else, so I think that's something we should be able to do.
Jim?
Yeah, I Justin, you don't have any issues making it happen, is what you just said with your other practices. So that seems pretty straightforward. The question about your insurance, I guess, Ian, we're already insured anyway, aren't we? We wouldn't need anything additional there, would we?
I don't think so. No, I think that our policy would apply. I mean, I think what Justin was saying is normally when an event comes in, we require them to carry additional insurance just
Correct.
to seal us off so we don't end up having to make a claim to our insurance in the event that something does happen. But, I mean, we would be insured. Our insurance would protect what happened in that event. I mean, the only problem would be if something happened, then we would be submitting a claim to our insurance rather than what it normally would be. It would normally go to a third-party insurer.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, that was my only question, and I'm not sure what that could possibly be, but Lord knows, something will always turn up. But okay, I guess add this to tomorrow's unfinished business also, and then this would be under $1,000, Justin.
Yeah, it would be under 1,000.
Basically.
Correct.
Okay.
That's all I got on that. So
Okay.
yeah, can kind of visit that tomorrow if we need to.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
You bet.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Anybody have anything else to bring up?
I don't.
Hearing nothing? This meeting's adjourned.
Sounds
Jim.
good. Thanks, guys.
See you tomorrow.